Coming up next on Access Framingham, Austria, Paris, and the Netherlands, with my special guest host of Fan to Fan here on Access Framingham TV, Dave Hornfischer. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack, here on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. My guest today is Dave Hornfischer. Earlier in 2023, Dave and his 23-year-old Texas grandson, Hutch Hornfischer, visited Austria. From there, they spent time in Paris and then in the Netherlands. They returned to Vienna to see a European baseball tournament. Dave joins me now to share his exciting trip with you, our audience. What parts of the world have you visited? Please be our guest here on Travels with Jack and share your travel experience with our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we'd be more than pleased to assist you with your travel to our Framingham studios. Now, Dave, welcome, and nice to be back have you back on Travels with Jack. You've been a past guest, and tell me what happened that you got started on this big European whirlwind trip.
Well, the past 2 years for my family have been very difficult. We lost our son, Jim, who was in Texas, the writer and the historian, to brain cancer 2 years ago. Oh. And this past May 2023, my wife was a victim of Alzheimer's and passed away. So, what do you do to hang in there? Well, I told my grandchildren, I told each one of them, I said, well, I want to travel, and I don't want to travel by myself. So I would really like to take each of you on a trip. So find me something exciting to do and we'll do it. I said, I could die and leave you money, or I could have fun and spend it now with you. Which one would you like?
Both. Both.
And oh no, they said, let's troll it. They said, let's go. And so my first opportunity came with my grandson Hutch, who was in Austria anyway. He'd been asked to be a part-time coach and player on an Austrian baseball team. And so he was there. I said, well, okay, I'll go see you there. And then from there, we will have ourselves a little adventure across Europe, and we'll find some places that we've never been, and we'll go there. So. Well,
that sounds great. I know, you and I were talking before the show, for those of us who are a little bit out of our teen years. It really is nice. I've traveled with my kids. Sometimes Mrs. Barron says, I don't want to do that trip. I'm not up to it. I've gone with my son, my daughter. And, older kids are great travel buddies.
They are.
So I'm so glad to hear that you did go with your grandson, and my little 8-year-old daughter's not ready to go with me. Granddaughter isn't ready to go with me yet. And I have another granddaughter who's 6, and her mother said to her, don't you want to go with Jackie? And she says, no, he'll be too much work. He'll make me go see everything, and I don't want to see everything. So I got to wait till she gets a little older. Anyway, I'm hoping Bill will start and give us a few photos. I always seem to ask the same question. How did you plan your trip? Did you leave out of Boston? Did you get a good deal on the airline? Tell me a little bit about that in our post-COVID show.
My daughter-in-law had suggested I look into a travel site called Hopper.
Okay.
And it was a discounted trip, and they put me on an airline from Boston to Iceland, and then to Copenhagen, and then to Vienna. And so
was that Icelandic Air?
No, it was Play Airlines.
How do you spell it?
Play.
Really?
And
okay.
then I had another.
This must be your grandson. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So this is landing in Austria, and you see the beginning of the Alps out in the distance, and the
is that what it is?
Lands.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so we can move on to the picture here with my grandson. He'd been working with this guy Martin on the left, and if my grandson looks a little tall, it's because he is.
Oh, okay.
He's about 6'8", okay?
Really?
And I'm 6'3", and so he made me look like a little guy all the time.
He really is. Oh, he's very tall.
So, but this guy on the left, Martin, is a real hero in Austrian baseball. Back in 1993, he was a baseball fan, and he said, "We need that here." And so he created this whole complex that they have in a little town about 30 miles outside of Vienna called Wiener Neustadt, and a town of about maybe 50,000, I think. And they've got this beautiful field, and they call their team the Ducks. And this is Ducks Field. That's the baseball field. There's a softball field right next to it that softball players can play on, and they're adding bleachers and
do the Austrians come to watch? Do they like it?
Well, I will get to a tournament that they had later on that we came back, was going to be an underage 23 European tournament, and they were having crowds of about 700 to 1,000 at the games. But when I first got there, we had a few days that I wanted to get over jet lag, so Hutch and I spent some time touring the area. We took this cog railway train up to this mountain from a little town called Puchberg, I guess.
Okay.
And we went up. And unfortunately, the day we went, it was very foggy and raining, so it was up to one of the lower Alps. It might have been about 5,000 feet up, I think. Was to say 2,000 meters? Yeah, it's about 6,000 feet. And these were some of the little villages we saw on the train ride. The trains in Austria were just gorgeous. This is Puchberg, a little town where we picked up the cog railway.
Now, did you stay in Vienna and traveled out to these areas?
Yes, yeah. We were in a little town called Bad Fischau, which was outside of Wiener Neustadt. So this was the cog railway train that we took up the mountain and stopped halfway for a nice piece of apple strudel. It looks pretty
modern. I was picturing something much older.
This has been going since the 1890. It says that they built this railway. I won't try to pronounce the name of the train.
I was thinking when you showed me the stadium, one thing I remember from Vienna, I absolutely fell in love. They served I'll call it a hot dog. It was probably a bratwurst on the dark, Austrian bread, and with mustard and sauerkraut. Oh my God, it was fabulous. I'm talking about it. I remember it so well. So I would imagine if I went to a baseball game there, maybe that's the kind of hot dogs they'd be serving.
Yeah.
So you might get me at a ball game there.
Yeah, I didn't run into that, but after a couple days there, we decided to take it was the last sort of a spur of the moment thing. We really had no plan when I arrived there where we were going to go. We were going to go north and west, and I said, I've never been to Paris, and so let's go there.
Oh, you did it that spur of the moment?
Almost.
Oh, all right.
And so we quickly booked the hotel.
In Paris. Okay.
And so we'll start with a little French flag here, and that's the little teeny hotel that we stayed in called the
Adona?
The Apollonia.
There you go.
It was in an area called Mouffetard of Paris, and was a cute neighborhood. A lot of little streets and restaurants where we went. That's the first night when Hutch and I shared a bottle of French wine and had a grand time talking with the owner and the staff at the restaurant. We liked it so much we went back the next night because it was so close. So he had duck, but on the streets of Paris, the most fun thing there were the crepe stands. I'm probably mispronouncing it.
No,
this is him the guy making a banana Nutella crepe, and oh my God, they were so good. I think I could have eaten. I could have just lived on that, and never mind all the rest of it.
The food in France is just wonderful.
But the people get around there. You don't see as many cars. You see a lot of bikes, a lot of scooters.
Oh, really?
Look at all the motorcycles.
Yeah,
here.
no, I see it.
And this is we did some touring and looking for different parts of the city, and we travel mostly by Uber. We ended up one night having a little nice outdoor restaurant.
Looks like a nice brasserie.
Saint Michel, I think, isn't that a somewhat famous area of Paris? I heard that mentioned, and this was some of the nightlife that was going on that night when we were there. And we went to a jazz club that was a lot of fun. It was in what probably would have been a very good bunker during World War II. The walls were about 3 feet thick, down in the basement. I think I have a picture. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Yep.
And it's kind of a little blurry, the picture is, but I took all my photos with my iPhone. So I just gotten a new iPhone 14, and this was very dark in there. But
here we are at the Louvre Museum.
The first thing we wanted to do was to go to the Louvre. The first day we showed up there, we didn't have tickets or anything, and so we ended up
Did they recommend you make reservations?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yes,
they do?
Yeah. No, and it can be very difficult to get in if you don't have one.
Oh, really?
Because we didn't. So that day we gave. I'm amused by you'd see these little squares with like that lady in green standing on it, and she was making some kind of a picture, and I don't know exactly what it was, but as soon as she got down, 4 or 5 other people got in line to climb up on that same thing.
Oh, so you do. See, I haven't been there in many years, but they really do tell you to have a reservation.
Oh, yes, no, yeah, very much so.
Oh.
Yeah, but this is I had never been to Paris before. How I lived to be 80 without going to Paris, I don't know, but
You did.
But I did, and this is the Louvre. It is huge.
Yes.
I mean, it just goes on forever, and it's just such beautiful architecture, and the IMP glass thing they put in front of it, that didn't resonate with me. I don't know. It's artistic, I guess, but it's just this is just gorgeous. This,
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was the French palace for the king.
Yes, it was. Louis
prior
XIV.
To them building Versailles.
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah, Louis XIV would have chopped somebody's head off if he saw that IMP thing. This is a picture we took from inside of just up close of the statues on the side of the building. I mean, it's just an artistic wonder itself. The outside is to me. Oh. And of course, if you go to the Louvre,
yes, you've got to go see the Mona
Lisa. And I think the interesting thing about this picture is the horde of people standing there with their cameras trying to take pictures. Now, they all could get a much better picture on the web of the picture. Their pictures on their camera are going to be fuzzy, twisted, sideways.
But when they want to show all their friends, I was in Paris.
I thought it was much more interesting to get a picture of the crowd than it was the Mona Lisa. They had a nice description of it here, and all of the all the highlights of it, but I was underwhelmed. Let's put it that way. I mean, and who am I? I'm not an art critic,
but the museum you were impressed with.
But now this lady was also a Da Vinci photograph, and I think that's almost as interesting as the Mona Lisa, and yet nobody talks about this poor woman who was some French aristocrat. I think I had there in the title there. I copied it.
It's quite an impressive building, though. The building,
unbelievable. Yeah,
this is the Egyptian
and the types of art. I mean, they cover every type of art in the world. They have the Egyptian stuff. I have the next picture coming up is some of the religious stuff. It's just an amazing collection. We were there 5 hours. I think there's 60 or 80,000 items on display at any one time, and I think they have millions in their whole collection. This is a very famous painting of La Liberté, I think it's called. Get my notes here.
Oh, I've seen this too.
And then this is the soul. This is the soul breaking the bonds. That's I didn't know a lot of this when I went. I had to look up what these pictures were after I took them when I got home. But one of the things that was most impressive to me, in addition to the art, were the ceilings. This was a ceiling in one of the. Unfortunately, I took too many.
I got to tell you something. I never ever remember looking. Maybe I did when I was there, but these are pieces of art themselves?
The rooms, yeah, they had four. You know, a number of the rooms that we went into, the ceilings themselves were almost more spectacular than
I was going to say, this looks quite spectacular.
Yeah, the pictures I took, unfortunately, I took them up and down, and so you don't quite get the. I didn't know I was making them these for television. I would have taken them landscape. So anybody that's going to take pictures out there, always take your pictures landscape. I took way too many vertical, portrait, as they call it. But there's another one of the ceilings, and
look at the workmanship on this.
yeah,
thing.
it was just beautiful.
You know, it's nice to see that they maintain the property as well as they do.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you know the sculptures in there were spectacular. The first I think we spent the first hour just looking at sculptures. This one is supposed to be Athena, I believe, and then this is another one that was the Ideal Greek Beauty was the name of this one.
And look at the beautiful background they're setting where they put it with the marble and everything.
Right, and yeah, that was part of the ceiling even. This is
your
Hercules.
Grandson?
That's Hercules.
Oh, you gave with the
Hutch.
baseball bat.
It looks like he's actually trying to kill a snake, but given the baseball nature of Hutch's and I relationship, I thought that was that was kind of
That's a terrific. Did you give him that photo?
Yeah,
That's a great pphoto to have.
Yeah, that's Hercules the baseball, and this is Hercules again killing a snake. A sea serpent, Achilles. His next one coming up is one of the more famous pictures of Cupid and Psyche.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's all right. I love seeing these.
And then you can't go to Paris without some tribute to Napoleon, who was that supposedly him on his burial pier, I think, bier, whatever they call it. I'm talking too much. This is a Syrian. The winged bulls, they called them. And again, look at the size of them. Now this is 6 feet 8 inch Hutch getting his due as with something that's taller than him.
They look like they're smiling though.
Yeah, don't they?
Yeah. And these came where? Out of Syria?
Assyria, yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And this is another. This is a kneeling angel. The white statues, the marble statues, were just stunning. These are the three graces. My mother was a grace. My granddaughter is a grace. So, and then so maybe that's enough of the Louvre. I mean, I could take 16 hours showing.
Now there's Notre Dame. How is that progressing since the big fire?
Well, it has to be done by 2024, I think, for 25. They basically gave them 5 years to do it, and they're really on schedule.
If you don't do it in 5
well, they raised a ton of money, and you can see the cranes there working away at it, and they're making progress. And
is it open? I mean, I don't.
No, you can't go in it.
You cannot go in.
No.
Okay. But they are putting it back together.
Yeah, and this is a picture of it at sunset, which I thought.
Now,
was
did you
stunning.
take a boat ride down the Seine?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
How was that?
That was fun. I mean, I was amazed at how many of the treasures of Paris, when you think of them, are all right on the Seine.
On the river.
And if you take the boat ride, you really get to see all the big stuff. You know, the Notre Dame. We have another one of the Eiffel Tower. And
now, was this a dinner cruise you took or anything, or just a regular?
No. We just took the cruise. We actually got the cruise as part of a package with our Louvre tickets.
Oh, okay.
This is a photo of the inside of the Notre Dame after the fire.
Oh my!
And we were in it. We went to a museum. It was an architecture museum, and they had a restoration. I'll show the little.
Are you
brochure
able?
that I
Oh,
got.
there you go. Good.
Yeah. I had.
So there's a museum. What? Literally showing you
the
what
feature.
happened?
Yeah. This is the museum for the Louvre. The brochure from the Louvre. Yeah, it was quite interesting. They had images of a bunch of the statues. Just before the fire had happened, they had taken a bunch of the statues off the roof, up where they were, to restore them, and so they didn't get destroyed. They would have all been destroyed. They were beautiful statues. Well, they had replicas of all of them in this museum, as well as a bunch of other stuff. It was some kind of an architecture museum that we happened to just kind of stumble on.
Isn't that it? It's interesting.
It was raining, so we went in.
How did you find the prices? Were you okay with, like the prices at the restaurants? And I know the hotel you told me was very reasonable.
Well, it was small.
How about the tours and things? Were they?
No, it wasn't bad. It was probably 10% more. I was glad I didn't have to buy gas, which was running about $8 a gallon, I think.
Yeah, they always get a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you didn't find the tours that expensive or the boat ride, so an average family person could go and say, we didn't stay in a very super expensive hotel, but the rest of the...
And the restaurants, I mean, we had a nice bottle of wine for about 25 euros, and I mean, we didn't go to the top of the chart, but we just enjoyed it. It was very good.
Well, that's good to hear, because, some of the places, I mean, as I was telling you when I was looking recently at prices in Paris for the hotels, I said, oh my God, they're getting, a lot
Well, yeah,
of money.
I mean, if you want to stay at the Sheraton, I'm sure it's a lot more. But I found these on Booking.com, and I'm a value buyer, and hotels to me are a place to sleep. I don't want to pay for a lobby.
Yeah.
Okay, or a fancy bar, or all those other accoutrements. I'm not going to use the health club. If I'm in Paris, I'm not going to ride the exercise bike. I want to walk the streets. I want to see Paris.
Yep.
So
No,
make sure it's clean and safe.
I'm glad to hear that you didn't find the tickets and stuff. Very
it wasn't exorbitant.
good.
It wasn't,
Good.
But this hotel was, I think it was a part of Best Western. It was locally owned.
Yeah. But you said you were happy with it.
It was.
The room was small, but the rates weren't bad.
Fitting Hutch and I in the shower was a bit of a trick. But we did.
Well, 6 foot 8.
Not at the same time.
But 6'8" is tough, no matter where you are.
This is an interesting statue here at the top of the Champs-Élysées. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yep.
It's called the Luxor. It was donated by Egypt. Yes, and this is at one end of of that beautiful walkway. Yes. And Hutch and I walked the whole thing, and we had rain come down right in the middle of it, and so we had to duck into a mall.
Sounds like you had a very rainy.
Yeah, it was. It was cool and rainy. I only brought one long sleeve shirt with me, and I regretted it. But we took our walk down that famous walk going down to the Arc de Triomphe. There we are walking down there. A selfie we took, and you can see a little me at 6'3". See how teeny I look. And there's the famous Arc. Yeah. And then the boat ride that we took. Boy, these tourist boats, they pack them in.
It looks like
hundreds at a time, and they're just that's all you see on the river. I was surprised we didn't see a lot of individual people with sailboats or whatever. But
so you didn't see too much of that kind of boating.
No, I mean, it was all these tourist boats constantly. Some of them were fancier than others. I think this was a picture of a famous palace that it's not open, I don't think, right now, and the bridge over the Seine there.
It's got a beautiful glass roof, I can see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I actually, if I go back, I'd like to go in there. I believe it's under renovation, I think they said.
I remember one of the big department stores, I think, had a big glass roof.
They call that the Pont Alexander Bridge. Yeah. And there, of course, is the famous Eiffel Tower. And
now, did you manage to go up?
No, we did not. It is open now. People were dining on the.
They have a great revestaurant, the Jules Verne restaurant.
Yeah. That's
in that Eiffel Tower is fabulous.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good restaurant. Great food, great view. It's very, very. I recommend it strongly.
So we only had 3 days in Paris. 4 days in Paris,
and then there's the train
there's
station.
The beautiful train station, which in itself is a work of art from the outside. It's just, and from there we took a very fast train to Amsterdam.
Oh, that's where you left out of.
Yeah, we didn't get the bullet train, which goes to Lyon, I think, but this train was going 200 kilometers at one point. Yeah, and so it wasn't a slow train. We were there in about 4 hours, I guess.
Really? So you right from Paris to downtown?
Right into the center of Amsterdam.
In 4 hours.
Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah. And so here we are, and the ride up through the countryside to Amsterdam was pretty. It was damp on that day, but we did see a bunch of greenhouses, which I assume were tulips, but I don't know. But the area was huge. It went on for probably a couple of kilometers.
Could be anything. You know, today
I have a picture of that coming up
They
here.
grow so much of the lettuces and everything in the hothouses.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the greenhouse that we saw. So I don't know what that was inside. I kind of imagined it was tulips, but
it is big. Look how big it is.
And that's just a piece of it.
Wow.
It just went on and on. And of course, going up through Holland and all that, one does hope one sees a windmill. And we saw a natural one out there in the area. And there's more windmill pictures coming up later at a museum that we went to, a living museum they called it. But then we arrived on a very rainy day in Amsterdam, and the train station's right on the canal there. And that's the center where our hotel was located, right in the center. And again, it was a relatively small, was the 23, I think they called it, or something. I'm forgetting.
And again, this was right from the computer.
Yes, right. I booked it about 2 days before. When we were in Paris, I booked this one.
Really? Okay.
So when I travel, I generally like to plan stuff a little ahead, but this time it was a spur of the moment thing almost.
I was going to say you're gutsy, because I usually, I have all those reservations way ahead.
I've been that way myself sometimes, but it wasn't. It all worked.
It worked.
This, I believe, I think that was the train station in Amsterdam. Actually, they built.
You see, they have the boats.
But the canals in Amsterdam were much more impressive than the ones in Venice. I thought I was just blown up. But what really got me was the architecture of the buildings. I have a bunch of pictures coming up here. That to me was the art of Amsterdam. This is in their main square at night. This is their national monument. We went out for a walk the first night we were here and just kind of stumbled. There was an outdoor, I think it was a gay pride celebration or something.
Is this another monument from Egypt, or is this a Dutch?
I don't know. It's the Austrian National Monument, the Dutch National Monument or something.
Really? Okay.
It's in a square right near the Royal Palace, which is the next photograph that's coming up. And but we did take a boat ride in Amsterdam, a canal trip that took us through a wide range of the canals. There we are sailing down, and it was a hop on, hop off. I've got a little. We did the bus, and we also.
Oh, the boat you could hop on, hop off.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so we made we went by a few places there. One of the places that we went was the Heineken Brewery tour. There's Hutch in there, and they had a great video display at the end where they took you through the whole brewery and made you feel like you were a bottle at one point, going down through the bottling.
It's nice they do that. I was never at that. I know in Ireland I remember being at the Guinness plant.
Yes, right.
But,
right.
I didn't even know they had a tour in Holland.
But the top floor of this was very high tech. It was actually quite fun. Other than you walk through and you see where they explain how the hops and the barley and all that go in. And, there was this other.
Well, they're one of the premier brewers in the world.
Yes, right. We heard of.
That's a good looking.
That's the Science Museum. It actually looks like a ship from the front, and that was mostly focused towards kids. We didn't go in it. We did get off and walk around there a little bit, but the boat traveled through a number of places. We went by the Amsterdam Opera, which is a picture that's the next one coming up. Right there.
And these were all accessible from the water.
Yeah, we're just riding down on this boat, on the canal boat, and it was quite interesting. We got off for a stop and went through Rembrandt Square. There's the famous painter in the square with his name.
And did you go to the big art museum there?
No, we didn't. That was the mistake that I made. Maybe we got museumed out at the Louvre. I mean, the next time I go to Paris, I'd like
You'll
to go to
skip the Louvre.
I'd like to go to the Orly. I believe that's
Yeah.
where they have all the Impressionist stuff. We didn't see any
There's
Impressionist
quite a
stuff.
few.
in the
I mean,
Louvre.
there's so many different museums. There's
Yeah.
Museum d'Orsay and
That's the
Musée
one. That's the one
d'Orsay.
I'm thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah.
Musée
That's the one that
d'Orsay?
has all the
Yeah.
Impressionist stuff.
Now, did you get to Versailles?
No.
You got to go back.
That was about 15 miles out of town, and we didn't have
Yeah, but it's
transportation.
worth seeing.
We could have taken a train out there, I believe.
Yeah, you
but,
can.
But we were only there 4 days, so.
So you got a
know,
reason to go back.
I do,
Yeah.
and I would. And I certainly would want to go back to Amsterdam. I was just blown away with Amsterdam. So we'll move on to some more of the Amsterdam pictures. As I said, I was just fascinated with the artwork and the buildings themselves. I just love beautiful buildings. You know, they just don't make them like that anymore. And so there's a number of photographs here of buildings. This was that's a place where we had a nice little beer
Now,
and some
did
dessert.
you enjoy the food there?
Oh, very good. Yeah,
Very
it was
good.
all good. In Amsterdam we drank more beer than wine than we did in Paris. This was just another square with some of the. And although those red walks are, I believe those are for the bicycles, and if you're walking in there, you can get run over by a scooter or a bike real fast.
Oh, really?
I came close a couple times. You have to be very careful.
Now, did somebody instruct you? Did they say to you, like, this is, or
there was
signs?
well, there was no they to talk to. We weren't on a tour. We were just figuring this out as we went along. Then we went into this old cathedral that they call a kirk, K-E-R-K. The old kirk, they call it here.
Okay.
I'm holding this up if you want to take a picture of me with my little brochure of the old kirk, which was when they built the new kirk. This was kind of left to rack and ruin for a long time, and they're slowly restoring it. But it's a massive project.
And this was what, a church?
Yes. Yeah. And I have a few pictures of the inside there. A couple of beautiful stained glass windows, and they had a gorgeous organ. Yeah, this was the organ, and the one before it was the organ.
And they left all this to kind of deteriorate?
Yeah, and they're slowly restoring it. Yeah.
Oh,
Not
I'm
with any
surprised.
great. So when we were on the boat trip, the boat guy had recommended. He had a comment about beers in Amsterdam. He said, Heineken is really ocean water, and Amstel is the Amstel Riverwalk. I learned that Amsterdam was actually named because they put a dam on the Amstel. It should have been Amsterdam, and somehow or other it became Amsterdam. But they recommended this other local brewery, and I can't even pronounce the name of the beer that was there. But when we went into this bar, and lo and behold, they had that. So we had to have some of that beer.
And what was your review on it?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
It was very good. But the nightlife in Amsterdam is really attraction. This is one of the canals at night, along with in the area here. This was the edge of the red light district. You can people walking along the streets. Everything was so clean. The buildings were beautiful. It's just a pretty scene at night. It was just a fun place to be.
I think I could be wrong. We'll see if one of our viewers corrects me. But I think they're trying to move the entire red light district.
I heard that.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. To another area.
But they had cleaned it up. I guess in the few years, not too many years back, the drug scene there got very, very nasty.
Oh.
And they had cleaned. But I was blown away by how clean the whole area was. I have a picture. I've got a couple more coming up here in this area here. But that scene there is almost artistic.
Well,
it was so clean.
For some of our viewers, it's really a very unique area. They have picture windows.
Well, we have a.
Oh, you do? Okay, you'll show everybody.
But the lifestyle there is symbolized by this sign that I saw in one bar that we walked into, and I thought this kind of symbolized the whole purpose of of Amsterdam life. Get that next picture, Bill.
Bill's busy looking at it. Oh.
Happiness is not a destination; it's a way of life. And you know, when you have tragedy in your life, and I've had a bunch of it in the last couple of years with my son and my wife, you know, I just need messages like that to kind of restore my faith in life as a human.
Well, you know something,
You know, and one has to keep smiling.
Life is a roadway with a lot of hills and valleys. How's that?
Yeah.
For everybody. I meet very few people who go through this life without any kind of sadness.
We did pop into the casino for a couple of minutes.
Oh, I didn't even know they had casinos.
And sacrificed about 10 euros each. We were ahead a little bit for a little while, but we quickly gave it back. And
yeah.
This was very small. They had some computerized roulette and a bunch of slot
not
machines.
like a Vegas casino.
Oh, far from it.
Okay.
No. But that was a cute little stop for about a half an hour one night.
It would be funny if they said, oh, yeah, we got legalization with drugs, prostitution, but casinos, oh, no, we wouldn't have that.
Well, there's the famous red light. There's one of the alleys with the red light windows, and the girls are inside the windows with mostly dressed in bikinis and waving to you. Once in a while, one would pop out the door and say come on in with me. And we were walking with some younger Spaniards when one lady popped out and they said, oh, they really want the grandpop, you know. But we kept walking. But this is probably one of the more arty pictures I took. Again, I wish I had taken it landscape, but you know, it just symbolized the beautiful architecture, the canal, the bicycles that everybody took. And
now, did you see as many motorcycles there or no?
Not quite as many.
Different.
I don't think.
I've seen.
Yeah,
I'm
many more. A lot of bicycles.
Really?
Yeah. But you know, that's modern Holland, I guess, which has but then we took a tour to an area called I'm going to mispronounce it, the Zandse Schans Museum, Schans. Now, a number of years ago, they were tearing.
How old are these windmills?
Well,
do they tell you?
Yeah, they were tearing all the windmills and all the little houses that were all in them down while they were building all these new manufacturing plants. And somebody had the bright idea, let's relocate a whole bunch of them into one area and make a living museum out of it. They didn't even want to use the word living.
Okay.
I mean, or museum, because there's actually, I have some pictures of the houses. You can see the little houses in the back, but people were actually working these windmills and making different kinds of things that you make with the energy from a windmill.
Probably grain, flour.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
But then they mixed in with it a shoemaking operation and a cheese thing. And here's a guy making wooden shoes.
Yep. Oh, look
and
at
you can
those.
see the art in those.
Yes.
It's just spectacular. But they showed us how he started with a block of wood that was in the previous thing, a little square of wood, and just carved it out. And he had like a model and it forced the cutting to go around and just do it. And then they had
cheese.
They had to have cheese. The lady explaining making cheese with the wax on it. We brought a few home, and those were nice, good little treats to bring home. And at that same museum, these were some of the little houses that they had, which were a throwback.
So are these
past
windmills
days.
300-400 years old?
Oh yeah. Well, they had one that was fairly new, interestingly enough, but the other ones were from the 16, 17, 18.
I would think so.
Yeah, they were. But you know,
now, you did not take a tour. You and your grandson just.
Well, we took the hop-on, hop-off
Okay.
bus. We took the hop-on, hop-off
Boat.
and we made our own tour.
Okay.
And you know, and we asked people at the hotel, what would you see? And I looked online the day we found the windmill museum.
And you put it together.
And I said, that looks like fun. Let's do it.
Okay.
And so off we went. But then when we came back, whereas they had crepe restaurants all over Paris, the big thing in Amsterdam was pancakes. So this was a pancake with cheese and pineapple. You always ask about food.
They make them on the street?
Make them right in front of you.
Right in front of you, okay.
We had this in a little restaurant, actually, but there were all kinds of cute little places. And,
they used to be the big thing.
This is my memory. This picture here symbolizes my memory of Amsterdam with bicycles and just these beautiful buildings that are all just so neatly packed and taken care of. And, you know, they're all right up against each other. It's sort of like the Back Bay, I guess, in some ways. but it's
But you
the
see
Dutch
how well
version.
maintained. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and this is it was just one after another. I was just blown away by
Well,
that.
Amsterdam was always a pretty rich city.
Yes. Oh, well, it was very rich because of all the money they made, starting with the tulips.
And they were a trading city.
Yeah, they were. Oh, on the North Sea there.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And they always seemed to, I think they're still probably a well-to-do.
It is the Venice of the North. Yeah.
Well, the Dutch tend to be good business people.
Well, they are. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure they are still.
Yeah, even in my industry, in the food industry, the Dutch are considered very shrewd merchants.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah.
We always look out for them.
Well, that's the end of my Dutch pictures. So we're under the final leg of this. I don't know how
Okay,
we're doing.
we're
for
all
time
right.
here.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. So now we're on
We
our
got to
way.
keep our viewers enrolled and watching.
So now we're on our way back to Austria. This was a 2-week vacation, so we had been we spent.
Oh, they've
about a
got
week.
the modern windmills.
There's a lot of windmills as you fly in toward back toward Vienna, and the land was so flat. I was I always think of Austria and Alps and all that, but up to the Alps is just this gorgeous farmland, and
Yeah, I'm surprised that there is so much farmland.
yeah, and they're making wind out of it. So here we are back in Bad Fischau, which was a little village outside where we were staying in this lovely little hotel. And they have a bath there. So when you see a German town or anyone where it begins with Bad, like bath, it means they have thermal baths.
Okay.
So Hutch and I spent an afternoon here at the thermal bad. We went in the water they had and floated around in there. It was quite cool.
You liked it?
And yeah, it was refreshing. And then we sat. It was a very warm day when we were there for it. It was one of the warmer days we had. And we sat out in the sun and then hopped back in a couple times. And that was quite an adventure. And Hutch had been there before, and he said, "Oh, you got to go here." He really talked me into going. So we went there, and that was a lot of fun. But the main reason that we went back to Austria was for this baseball tournament of under age 23. It was a European tournament with players from each countries, and I thought it would be really fun to talk to people from all these European countries about baseball. You remember the show I did with you?
You did the Cuba show.
I did Cuba with baseball, softball, and then I did the one on baseball parks all over.
Yep.
And so this was a chance to talk to people from Europe about baseball.
I don't know if you're bringing the Red Sox any luck, though.
No, I didn't bring them. No. There was a player on the German team in this tournament who had been selected by, I think, the Phillies in the recent draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the baseball was quite good. Hutch compared it to like Division III baseball in America, like what maybe Framingham State might play, but Netherlands ended up winning the tournament. The British kind of irritated everybody because they filled their team with Americans who had British relatives.
Oh, so they cheated a little bit.
It was kind of weird because Britain had lost the Dutch 1-0 in the early rounds of the tournament, but then in the championship game they lost like 23-5 because they didn't have a pitcher who could throw a strike, and the Dutch the Austrians were quite upset because they'd drawn a fairly big crowd for this championship game because they wanted to show off baseball in Austria, and to have this horrible game, 23-5 with 19 walks.
It sounds like something. Didn't we have a game like that in Boston a little while ago?
That happens here too.
Yeah.
But they were trying to show off how much fun a ball game was, and to have this kind of a fiasco of a championship game, it was embarrassing to the locals. The local people, and this was the mascot. That's the mascot for the Germans. It was kind of interesting. Is all the countries had different ways of cheering. The Italians were very different the way they'd root their team on than were the Czechs or were the Britons.
This is their version of Wally.
That's Wally. Yeah. I thought that was cute. I didn't take too many.
You know something, Dave? That's what you should start doing. You should go to all these countries, Japan, everywhere they play baseball, and do a book.
Yeah.
On their iconic, what do you call these? The
mascots.
Mascots. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the Dutch took it serious.
Book.
the Germans took it seriously with that guy, but the baseball thing was it was just interesting. We just happened to sit next to the coach of the German team for the championship game, and he was a guy who lives in the States and goes to Europe. He goes to Germany for about 6 or 8 months of the year. His wife was with him, and they go.
So he has a house there.
He has a house. Yeah. Well, no, they put him up in a house every place he goes. They put him up in Berlin, I think, in a nice place, and he coaches the team there, and then so it's quite an industry. The whole this whole coaching business of European baseball. They bring in a lot of Americans. When I was in Cuba.
Now, is this what Hutch would like to do? Does he want?
He's thinking about it. Well, he did some coaching. Now that he's back in Texas, he's actually taken a part-time job coaching a youth baseball team there.
What is he doing for his regular?
Well, he just graduated from college. So he's looking at a variety. He kind of put finding a job after college. I had been to his graduation in Texas in May from Southwestern University, and just outside of Austin. It's a liberal arts school, sort of like Trinity or Clark.
So he's thinking maybe of
he's a business major, but he really enjoys coaching, and he'd been a pitcher, and he's kind of coming to try and figure out, well, maybe I'm not going to make a career out of pitching, but he'd been coached very well, and he enjoys. He's really loves baseball. It's kind of in his blood. He's got baseball and fishing in his life. He got baseball from me and fishing from his father. But
well, you know something. He'll put something together in Europe. You know, it's so much. Well, I shouldn't say. I'm speaking only from life experience. But sometimes when you can get in at the beginning of something that's new, and not quite as sophisticated, our sports teams.
They were trying to convince him to come back next year because they liked him, and
because our Major League Baseball teams are very business-oriented businesses.
Yeah, this was locally driven. This was one of the houses in that little town. I thought I was just impressed with the stucco houses and the roofs. I had a lot more pictures than this, but we spent a day in the town next to it, Wiener Neustadt, which was a very busy little industrial city. And this is the dome that they have there. A dome is a cathedral that has 2 towers, and it was beautiful. That picture doesn't quite capture it as well as it could, but the inside was just spectacular. That's the altar inside.
It does. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, it was gorgeous, and there was a lovely museum right nearby that we also spent a couple hours in, which showed us the history.
It's nice to see a church kept so nicely like this. So many of the churches I remember in Italy
they were very well because they spent all their money on the big St. Francis one up.
But I mean, a lot of them were really let go.
Oh, they were because
they can only.
This is the big church in Vienna, the St. Stephen's.
Yes.
Which is just a total work of art from the outside. I'd been there before when Elsa and I traveled to Vienna a couple of years ago. And this is sort of the leading main street in Vienna. It's called Kartnerstrasse, and every fancy store that you can think of, from Rolex to just name a famous brand, they were on that street.
That's where the famous Sasha Tort store is, I think.
Yes, right.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I brought home one of those.
Yep.
But they had a Clint museum there. He's the big name in Vienna as an artist. I don't know if you saw the movie. What was it? Gold. The movie of the Lady of something about.
Yes, with the
famous picture that was
painting that he did, and the woman said it had been stolen from her family. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And we're walking along, and we see this museum called it was a Mozart Experience, they called it. And we went in this, we had no idea what it was. And it was just wonderful. And we were just so blown away by the experience. They had a bunch of videos. It was so creative. I have a little video here coming up in here, but which doesn't even begin to capture the fun of this. This was really exciting. This one here was just showing all the different instruments that get played in you're in this room surrounded by these videos all around you, and there's some sound that went with this. I don't know if that's in the video here, but it was really cute. They were playing all the Mozart music while this was going on. His magic flute and. But you almost were dizzy standing in this room surrounded by all these. The wall was all around you.
Now this is Is this the opera?
This is the famous Vienna Opera House. Yes.
Beautiful building.
And that's it in the daytime. And that was under renovation the other time I was in Vienna. So I was thrilled to be able to go to a show in there that they put on. They put on these Mozart concerts that we went to one night there. There's a picture.
Oh, you were able to get in?
Yes. It was a last minute purchase, and we bought reasonably priced tickets, and somehow or other we ended up like 8 rows from the front.
Really?
I have no idea how that happened.
Was there a big audience?
Yeah, it was packed.
Packed.
Yeah, it was totally full.
So everybody goes.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's another picture coming up of this museum at night, which is just beautiful with the lights. And then we have a little video, some pictures inside. Oh, we somehow or other got out of sequence here. This is the Hofbrau, the Habsburg Palace that you talked about.
Yes.
And we walked around the outside of that. We had there's a little building next to us where we had.
They had the most beautiful ceramic fireplaces, I remember, in the corners of many of the rooms.
Oh, that last building I showed you wasn't I'm sorry, that wasn't the Opera House. That was the Volkstheater, the one we showed before.
Oh, okay.
This is the Opera House right here. And that's it at night when they light it up on the street, which was just beautiful. And the inside and the lobby was a total work of art as well, with the pictures.
Vienna is consistently rated as one of the best cities in the world to live.
It's just beautiful too.
To live.
There's more statues on the buildings than anywhere else I've ever been.
Well, I guess they have a relatively low crime rate. They have a lot of public transportation. I guess the prices are not crazy. So it continues.
It's safe. One of the locals said, we pay a lot of taxes, he said, but you can feel safe going out.
Yeah.
And he said because people aren't starving and having to do stupid stuff to survive. And it was
in the United States, everybody eats, so
yeah, we just waste too much money. This is a picture of the
museum,
the
Opera House,
of the brochure for the concert that we were going to. The musicians are all dressed in 1700s garb,
really
playing Mozart music, and they do these in a couple halls. In fact, the one we were in last time, if you've seen the concert they do every New Year's Eve from Vienna, on PBS.
I have seen that.
That was the hall that this show was done in the last time I was in Vienna. But this time I was lucky because it got to be in the Opera House.
Did you go into the Habsburg Palace, that big one?
No, we didn't.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'd been there before.
Yes. No, and I always remember the food in Austria all through it was wonderful. I love that kind of food.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was a little disappointed in the strudel.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was a little dry.
It must have been the place you went. But they have, oh my God, they have those fabulous sausages and the bread and great soup and, oh my God, it makes me want to hop on a plane and have dinner.
But we, as I said, we did go to this concert here, and I took a little clip of the inside of the building here, just to give you a sense. This is the inside of the Vienna Opera House. That's the backdrop on the stage.
Wow.
And the people sitting in the boxes all around that surround it. I've always loved these theaters, the way they build them in Europe with these
Well,
boxes.
it looks like the movies. Sometimes you see those old Hollywood movies.
Right.
And that's what they show you.
Right.
And, in one of the boxes is usually some beautiful princess and,
Right. There was a Asian family, I think they were Japanese, it was all in there. They were all taking pictures of each other and being in the building, and they were up there. Everyone had to have their picture taken in the back. But the show was put on in 1700s fashion. There's a photo here. There's the musicians on stage with their
with the wigs,
with the wigs and the whole bit, and the fancy.
That's
fancy
terrific.
Coats the talent was just there was a woman that did a solo, and oh my God.
This is an
aria.
Would you say is mostly for tourism?
Oh yes, yeah.
It is. Okay.
Oh yeah. But now I'm sure if I lived there, I'd probably want to catch one of these now and then myself too.
Beautiful.
And so we've pretty much come to the end of my trip. I flew home. We landed in Iceland. I was hoping there was a volcano in Iceland that's erupting, but we didn't go over it. I never got to see that.
You didn't get a chance to stop in Iceland?
Well, no, we just flew. Oh, well, I was at the airport.
No, we've had quite a few guests who have been to Iceland, and we've done a few shows with Iceland.
Yes, right.
And they all love it. I've never been there, but I only hear great things.
It was very cold and barren looking from the air, and from the airport was a little bit.
I don't know. Everybody comes back. They all say it was beautiful. The nature, they love it. I hear only nice things. Before we finish the show, what's your next trip?
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking.
Okay.
This winter, I think I'll probably go to Arizona or to Texas and see family and friends. And
and get their opinion. Where do you want to go with Grandpa?
Well, I'm waiting to hear from some of my other kids. I'm getting some ideas. I've got a 2.5-year-old great grandson, and his mother, my granddaughter, he said, well, Disney is the thing that I think we want to do, but
but maybe go to Disney in
Paris.
There you go, Paris or
China.
Yes, there you go.
Well, you're going to tax my Well, I told them. I said, I can leave you the money or I can have fun with it.
No, that's how you'll do it. You'll go to China or Japan, wherever. That's how to do it. That'd be different.
That would. Well, that would.
And
that'll get me a reason.
You said you wanted to do a baseball game in Japan.
I know. I missed that the one time I was there.
Well, as I told you, I did go, and we had a great time. They came around with all the beer, and they had tanks, and they had
sing their songs for every player.
And the stadium I was at was roofed. The whole thing was under a dome.
Yeah, right.
So it didn't matter if it rained or anything.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. That was a trip my wife and daughter and I went, and she set up the agenda. So it was everything she wanted to do. So she wanted to go to baseball. She took us to the fish market. I can't. We went where the teenage clothing is. There's a whole area in Tokyo where they I forget the name of it, but the kids all wear this special clothing. Wonderful to see you.
Well, Jack, it's great to come back
you were a guest.
Thanks for inviting me again.
My pleasure, and thank you, our audience. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.